Picture this for a second. Two people bring home the same paycheck. They live in the same world, face the same economy, and have access to the same opportunities. But their lives turn out completely different. One of them stays stressed about money year after year, always catching up, never getting ahead. The other begins to build stability, confidence, and real financial progress. So what separates them? It's not luck. It's not fate. And it's definitely not some secret only the wealthy know. The real difference lies in what they refuse to do, the disciplined choices they avoid, the traps they never fall into, and the habits they stay away from, even when everyone else seems to be doing them. Because wealth isn't just about how much you make. It's shaped by your mindset, your decisions, and your consistency over time. So in this video, we're going to talk about the things rich people never do. Not theories, not fairy tales, but real behaviors that separate those who build wealth from those who stay stuck. If you want to stop repeating the same mistakes, take control of your finances, and build a future you can be proud of, stay with me. Understanding these lessons could be the turning point many people never get. Let's get started.
Let's start with something important to understand. Wealth is not just about money. It's about discipline. It's about the mindset you carry every single day. And it's about the respect you have for your time, your responsibilities, and your future. True wealth isn't created overnight. It's not built through shortcuts, lottery wins, or sudden miracles. The people who build real financial strength do it the same way generations before them did, through steady, consistent effort and decisions that may not always feel exciting, but always move them forward. They honor hard work. They respect structure. And they value long-term stability over momentary comfort. Think about the men and women who built lasting fortunes in the past. They weren't chasing quick fixes. They weren't relying on chance. They stayed patient, disciplined, and thoughtful about every major choice they made. That's why their success lasted. That's why their families benefited even long after they were gone. And that's exactly what separates those who rise financially from those who remain stuck. Because wealthy people don't just think differently, they behave differently. They carry themselves differently. And just as important as what they do is what they refuse to do. They don't let themselves fall into destructive habits. They don't waste time on things that don't matter. They don't treat money carelessly or live like life has no consequences. They understand that every decision today shapes their tomorrow. And that's what we're diving into right now. We're going to talk about the behaviors the wealthy never allow themselves to fall into, the attitudes they avoid, the mistakes they refuse to repeat, and the traps that quietly drain the future of so many hardworking people who never realize what's holding them back. If you want financial strength, if you want security, if you want a life where you're not constantly stressed about money, then understanding these principles matters. Because success isn't about being lucky. It's about being disciplined, aware, and intentional with your life. So stay with me. Take these lessons to heart. Learn from the patterns of those who built lasting success the right way. Let's talk about the things rich people never do. Now let's talk about one of the biggest principles wealthy people live by. Rich people never rely on only one source of income. Most people grow up with the mindset that one job is enough. Work hard, collect your paycheck, and hope everything goes smoothly. But here's the truth wealthy people understand very clearly. If all your money comes from one place, then your entire life depends on that one thing never failing. And life doesn't work that way. One company decision, one economic downturn, one unexpected situation, and that single paycheck can disappear. For the average person, that means stress, fear, and financial panic. Wealthy people refuse to put themselves in that kind of danger. They build layers of income, not just one. They don't wait until everything is perfect. They don't wait until they're already rich. They start while things are small, and they allow those small streams to grow over time. They look for ways to create extra value beyond their main job. That could mean starting a side business. It could mean learning a skill that people are willing to pay for. It could mean investing wisely so their money has the chance to grow instead of sleeping in a bank account. And it often means owning assets that produce income even when they're not physically working. The goal isn't always fast money. The goal is security. Multiple streams of income give them options. Options create stability, and stability builds peace of mind. Meanwhile, most people stay trapped because they rely on one source of income and hope everything turns out fine. Wealthy people don't live on hope. They live on preparation. They honor responsibility. They protect their families and their future by refusing to gamble everything on a single employer or paycheck. Even if they start small, they start. Even if their extra income doesn't look impressive at first, they stay consistent, because they know that over time, those little streams can turn into something powerful. So remember this: if you want real financial strength, don't depend on one source of money. Build, grow, learn, and create opportunities. Wealthy people don't sit back and wish for stability, they build it. And that's why they never rely on just one income stream. Now here's another powerful principle wealthy people live by. They never spend money before they actually earn it. Most people fall into dangerous habits. They say, "I'll buy it now and worry about the cost later." Or, "I'll just swipe the credit card. Eventually I'll pay it off." That mindset keeps countless people trapped, stressed, and constantly chasing bills. Wealthy people completely reject that way of thinking. They understand that real strength comes from patience, discipline, and planning. Instead of rushing to buy things just to feel good or impress others, they slow down. They think ahead. They prepare. Before they spend, they save. Before they make a purchase, they calculate whether it truly makes sense. They respect their future more than temporary pleasure today. Because here's the truth: debts pile up, interest grows, and the habit of spending money you don't have creates a lifetime of financial pressure. Wealthy people know that, and they refuse to sacrifice tomorrow's peace for today's impulse. They don't chase trends. They don't compete with other people's appearances. They don't feel the need to prove anything through expensive things. Instead, they build stability. They prioritize security. They value responsibility. And by doing that, they give themselves freedom. The kind of freedom most people never experience because they spent their future before it even arrived. So remember this lesson: don't live on borrowed money. Don't spend just to keep up. Be patient. Plan wisely. Respect your future self. That's why rich people never spend before they earn. Now let's talk about another powerful truth wealthy people live by. They never ignore their financial reality. When money gets tight, most people look the other way. They avoid checking their bank account. They ignore bills. They pretend the problem isn't there, hoping somehow it will fix itself. But ignoring money problems doesn't make them disappear. It only makes them grow. Wealthy people do the exact opposite. They face their situation head-on, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. They constantly know where their money is going. They track their spending so nothing catches them by surprise. They stay aware of their debts instead of pretending they don't exist. They understand their responsibilities and plan for them. And they think ahead, years ahead, not just days or weeks. Why? Because problems are always easier to fix when you face them early. Rich people understand that denial destroys stability. They'd rather confront a difficult truth today than suffer a financial disaster tomorrow. They treat money with respect. They treat their future with seriousness. And because of that, they make smart adjustments before things get out of control. Meanwhile, many people end up overwhelmed simply because they refuse to look at reality until it was too late. So if you want real financial strength, courage is required. Look at your finances honestly. Track what you earn. Track what you spend. Be aware of what you owe and where you're heading. Facing the truth may feel uncomfortable at first, but it builds responsibility, control, and peace of mind. That's why wealthy people never ignore their financial reality.
Now let's talk about another important principle wealthy people live by: They never live just to impress other people. A lot of people fall into the trap of chasing image. They want the expensive clothes, the flashy brand names, the newest phone, the luxury lifestyle, whether they can truly afford it or not. They spend money trying to look successful instead of actually working toward success. Wealthy people think differently. They don't waste time chasing attention, validation, or approval from strangers. They understand that real strength isn't loud. Real success doesn't always need to be displayed. And real confidence doesn't need to prove anything. Instead of flexing, they focus on building. Instead of showing off, they focus on securing their future. They choose simplicity, practicality, and discipline over unnecessary luxury. They would rather invest than impress. They would rather build stability than keep up appearances. They choose peace of mind over temporary admiration. Because deep down, they know something powerful. Status that depends on other people's opinions is fragile. But status that comes from financial independence is solid, steady, and real. Meanwhile, many people end up broke not because they didn't earn enough, but because they spent their money trying to look rich instead of becoming rich. Wealthy people don't live for applause. They don't live for attention. They live for freedom, security, and control over their own lives. So remember this: true success doesn't need validation. Real wealth doesn't scream. It's calm, responsible, and steady. That's why rich people never live to impress others. Now here's another powerful truth wealthy people live by. They never waste time. Rich people understand something many others overlook. Time is their most valuable asset. Money can be lost and earned back. Opportunities can disappear and reappear. But time, once it's gone, it never returns. That's why they're intentional with every hour they have. They don't sit around constantly complaining. They don't spend endless hours scrolling through social media or distracting themselves from reality. They're not busy making excuses about why life is unfair. Instead, they protect their time like something precious. They use their days to learn, to grow, and to improve themselves. They build skills that increase their value. They invest time into meaningful relationships. They work on opportunities that move their lives forward rather than wasting energy on things that don't matter. They honor work, they respect effort, and they stay focused. Because wealthy people understand that the future is quietly shaped by what you do with your time today. Success rarely comes from luck. It comes from discipline, consistency, and the willingness to use your time wisely instead of letting it slip away. Meanwhile, many people stay stuck not because they lack potential, but because they let time pass without purpose. They treat time casually, while wealthy people treat it seriously. So if you want a stronger future, start valuing your time. Be intentional. Be disciplined. Build instead of wasting. Because every hour you respect brings you one step closer to independence, stability, and success. That's why rich people never waste time. Now let's talk about another principle wealthy people live by. They never blame everyone else for their situation. A lot of people fall into a mindset where everything is someone else's fault. They say things like, "It's the government's fault. It's the economy. It's other people holding me back." And once that mindset settles in, progress stops. Because when you believe everything is out of your control, you stop looking for ways to improve your own life. Wealthy people refuse to live in that victim mentality. They understand that life isn't always fair, far from it. They deal with setbacks, obstacles, and tough circumstances just like everyone else. But instead of pointing fingers, they step up and take responsibility. They ask themselves, what can I do with what I have? How can I adapt? What solution can I find right now? That attitude changes everything. When something goes wrong, they adjust. When the economy shifts, they learn new skills or pivot. When life challenges them, they focus on what they can control instead of wasting energy on what they can't. This mindset doesn't ignore reality. It strengthens them to overcome it. Because here's the truth. No one becomes successful by blaming the world. Growth happens when you take ownership of your actions, your decisions, and your future. Wealthy people rise because they look inward before they look outward. They take accountability. And that responsibility gives them power, the power to improve, to rebuild, and to rise above difficult circumstances. So remember this: blaming others keeps you stuck, but taking ownership moves you forward. That's why rich people never live in blame. They choose responsibility, and that choice builds progress. Now, here's another powerful principle wealthy people live by: they never stop learning. People who stay stuck often believe they already know enough. They stop growing, stop studying, and rely only on what they already understand. But wealthy people think differently. They know that the world keeps changing, and if you stop learning, you eventually fall behind. So they stay curious, they read, they study business, money, discipline, and the experiences of those who came before them. They pay attention to history, success stories, and lessons that can guide them toward better decisions. They constantly upgrade their thinking. Instead of saying, "I know enough," they ask, "What else can I learn to improve my life?" They learn skills that make them more valuable. They develop knowledge that helps them make wiser financial choices. They sharpen their mindset so they can handle opportunities when they arrive. Wealthy people honor knowledge the same way earlier generations respected wisdom and experience. They understand that learning isn't something that ends after school. It's something that continues throughout life. And because of that, they grow stronger, smarter, and more capable as the years go on, while others stay stuck in the same place. So remember this: if you want your life to improve, your mind must improve first. Keep learning. Keep growing. Keep feeding your mind with ideas that help you build a better future. That's why rich people never stop learning. Now let's talk about something extremely important. Wealthy people are very careful about the company they keep. Because who you surround yourself with can shape your future more than you realize. There's a simple truth: show me your circle, and I can tell you where your life is heading. Rich people stay away from lazy, unmotivated people. They avoid constant complainers, people who always talk about problems but never take action. They distance themselves from negative thinkers who believe success is impossible and life is only about limitations. And they do not spend their time with people who have no goals, no discipline, and no desire to grow. Why? Because that kind of environment drags you down. If the people around you don't care about improving, eventually you stop caring too. If everyone around you makes excuses, blames life, and does nothing to change, it becomes normal to live the same way. Wealthy people refuse to accept that kind of influence. Instead, they choose to surround themselves with builders, people who take responsibility for their lives. They stay close to doers, not talkers. They value friends and mentors who push them to be better, not people who feel threatened by growth. They respect strong communities. They appreciate disciplined friends. They value supportive families and people who believe in progress. When they talk with their circle, they talk about ideas, plans, opportunities, goals, and how to improve, not gossip, drama, or nonsense. They want to be around people who think forward, who work hard, and who live with purpose. Because success isn't only about what you do, it's also about who you allow into your life. If your circle is lazy, you start to slow down. If your circle is unmotivated, you start lowering your standards. But when your circle is disciplined, focused, and driven, you naturally rise. So take a look at the people around you. Ask yourself honestly, are they helping me grow or holding me back? Wealthy people understand that your environment shapes your future. That's why they never surround themselves with lazy people. They build a circle that lifts them higher, keeps them accountable, and helps them become stronger every day. And as we wrap this up, remember this: wealth isn't magic. It's not luck. It's built through choices, day after day, year after year. Most people aren't held back by lack of opportunity. They're held back by habits that quietly destroy their future. Laziness, denial, ego, emotional spending, and short-term thinking ruin more lives than bad luck ever will. When you ignore reality, chase image, or live only for today, you pay the price tomorrow. But the good news? You can choose differently. Choose discipline. Choose patience. Build more than one source of income. Respect your time. And never stop learning and improving yourself. These aren't flashy ideas. They're not trendy. They're the same solid principles that built strong families, strong communities, and strong people for generations. When you live with responsibility, focus, and purpose, life rewards you in ways quick fixes never can. So wherever you are right now, start today. Even small improvements matter. Even slow progress counts. Your future self is depending on the choices you make now. Stay steady, stay focused, and build a life you can truly be proud of. So if this helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Stay focused, stay consistent, and keep building a future you'll be proud to look back on. Your journey continues from here.